Today we're going to look at 5 things that you can do with the Duplo and an expression pedal. So I thought it might be quite fun to dive into some of the secondary functions that the bigger pedals in our lineup have. And first up, we're going to take a look at what you can do with an expression pedal with the Duplo Lo-Fi delay machine. It's a really simple way to get loads more out of this delay pedal, especially on the fly if you're playing live or if you're doing some recording and you want to change settings as you go. For me, this kind of stuff is really useful for like the more ambient side of things, where you can kind of sweep in different textures and volumes and levels and things like that. So for those that don't know, on the back of the Duplo there's an expression input where you can plug in pretty much any expression pedal. I've got one of those fairly affordable Moog ones that I think are about 50 or 60 quid, and all or any of the controls on the Duplo are assignable to the expression pedal. Basically all it involves is a couple of foot switch holds that you just press down until the light starts flashing. That takes you into expression assignment mode. To then assign the knobs, all you do is twist the ones that you want to assign to the expression pedal and then hold the switches down again to go back into like normal mode. And you can get really crazy if you start assigning multiple parameters, where you might do the level and the mix at the same time whilst also bringing in the tone control. So you go from a perfectly clean sound and then sweep through darker, really subtle delays through to really bright and kind of in your face delays at the other end.
Get your words straight, Jack.
But for now, we're just going to focus on one parameter at a time, starting with the repeats. So with this, you can go from just one repeat all the way through to self-oscillation and everywhere in between. Next up, we've got the delay time. This is a bit of a strange one. Obviously the Duplo has tap tempo, so you could just tap in any time you wanted. And using the subdivisions, you can get down to those really short delay times. If you tap pretty fast and then go to like a 16th subdivision, for example, you can dial in pretty much the entire range of the delay pot with just your feet. But obviously what you can't do with a tap tempo is sweep between those delay times. So it's quite an interesting effect. It's a bit strange, and I'm not going to profess to be the best at using this. There are far more creative people than me out there that could make really good use of this, I'm sure. This is just an example of how it works. So next up we have the control knob. The control knob varies depending on what patch you're on, and that could be anything from bringing in some modulation through to bringing in a second delay head that's set to a separate subdivision. But in this example we're looking at patch 4, which is the PT2399 really lo-fi gritty delay. And on this patch the control knob blends in like an aliasing or a bit crusher kind of effect that's meant to simulate what happens when you take a PT2399 chip and put it past its maximum rated delay time, and it all kind of starts to break down and fall apart. And what the expression pedal does with this is allows you to blend through a kind of perfectly clean, perfectly normal sounding delay through to a really crazy aliased bit crush delay that just kind of sounds weird and crazy. Next up, we've got the tone knob. So this is both a high pass and a low pass filter at the same time. So when the knob's at noon, it's kind of the neutral sound, if you like, where it's not really being affected either way. So when you turn it anti-clockwise, you're cutting off loads and loads of highs the further you turn it down, and then as you turn it clockwise, it starts to take out some of the lows, and you just get that really kind of thin and bright, raspy sound, which can sound really good if you want the delay to be right at the forefront of your sound and not get too muddy, which is especially useful when you're using some kind of distortion or fuzz before the delay. And last up, we've got the level control. Now the level on the Duplo is a master volume control, which means it's after the delay, it's right at the end. Which means it's very different to plugging in, say, a volume pedal at the beginning of your chain, in that it controls both the wet and dry signal simultaneously. And what this allows you to do is kind of set really crazy long delay times that don't get too out of hand when you back the expression pedal off again. Because obviously where it's cutting out the delay as well, you don't run into those issues of the delay still running away with itself after you pull the expression pedal back. And that's it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little dive into 5 things that you can do with an expression pedal and the Duplo. Like I said, it's only a small little secondary function, but I think it's something that often goes overlooked. So if you have a Duplo, then by all means feel free to grab hold of an expression pedal and start experimenting. I'll post a link down to the Duplo in the description below if you want to read anything more about the specs, as well as a link to our website in general so you can read about all of the other pedals in our range. As always, check out our social media pages if you want to see what we're up to on more of a daily basis over on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and we'll see you next time.